ceremony today. I'd like to welcome you to the city of Trenton and thank you for joining me in this solemn gathering to honor those who gave their lives for this nation in service to something greater than themselves. I would invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we will have I believe the Seaway Chorale, who will be singing "O Canada" in honor of our Canadian friends.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you so much. The Seaway Chorale will continue with the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red above thirsting air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sailors, that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Next, we will proceed with the invocation. I'd like to invite Ron Bunea, member of BFW Post 1888 of Trenton.
Uncover. Creator God, in a spirit of community, we pause to remember lives lost and lives forever changed in war. May we also remember your great love for us, and that there is no greater demonstration of love than to lay down one's life for another. Grant that our reflections today honor those who made that choice, as well as many we were willing to do so if they were called upon. To honor their legacy, we commit ourselves to be more vigilant in our love for one another and our nation and the cause of freedom, justice, and peace throughout the world. Amen. Cover.
Thank you, and let's welcome also our local elected officials and guests. I'd like to introduce U.S. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who is with us. State Representative Darren Camilleri was in the parade. I'm not sure if he's still in the crowd. Also, Wayne County Commissioner Joe Palomara. And Nelson Perugi, councilperson, I believe is on stage here as well. And then I'll introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Wendy Pate. I'm a councilperson, mayor pro tem for the city of Trenton. I'm standing in for Stephen Rizeppa, who is our mayor, who could not be here today. So thank you for having me. Next, I'll be announcing the Veterans Grand Marshal. That includes Bernard Stamer of World War II. John Craven, Vietnam. Richard Williams, Vietnam. Thank you for your service and for attending our parade as Grand Marshal. We appreciate that. The next portion of the program includes speakers. We have about 3 speakers. I would first like to introduce U.S. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell.
Good morning. To our Grand Marshals, thank you for your service. And I think of John today as I think of World War II and his service. Wendy and I were trying to remember when this happened. We were here getting ready for speeches, and there was a wonderful veteran from World War II who said, instead of your words, I want you to read this poem. And I turned to Kyle, who was mayor then, and said, may I do that? And she said, if you want. And those words touched me that day. He died right before Memorial Day, a year later. And Wendy and I think it was almost a decade ago. But I read this poem every year here, and it's what I post and read at every Memorial Day service I go to. A soldier died today. He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast. And he sat around the Legion telling stories of the past, of a war that he had fought and the deeds that he had done. In his exploits with his buddies, they were heroes, every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors, his tales became a joke, and all his Legion buddies listened, for they knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, for old Bill has passed away. And the world's a little poorer, because a soldier died today. He will not be mourned by many, just his children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary and quite uneventful life. Held a job and raised a family, quietly going his own way. And the world won't note his passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim they were great. Papers tell their whole life stories from the time they were young. But the passing of a soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. Is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land a guy who breaks his promises and cons his fellow man? Or the ordinary fellow who in times of war and strife goes off to serve his country and offers up his life? A politician's stipend and the style in which he lives are sometimes disproportionate to the service he gives, while the ordinary soldier who offered up his all to be paid off with a medal and perhaps a pension small It's so easy to forget them, for it was so long ago that the old bills of our country went to battle. But we know it was not the politicians with their compromise employs who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you want a politician with his ever-shifting stand? Or would you prefer a soldier who has sworn to defend his home, his kin, and country, and would fight until the end? He was just a common soldier, and his ranks are growing thin. But his presence should remind us we may need his like again. For when countries are in conflict, then we find the soldier's part is to clean up all the troubles that the politicians start. If we cannot do him honor while he's here to hear that praise, then at least let's give him homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps just a simple headline in a paper that would say, "Our country is in mourning, for a soldier died today."
Thank you, Congresswoman Dingell. Our next speaker is from the American Legion Post 426, Post Commander Robert Kamin.
Thank you. Thanks for being here today. I'm deeply honored to stand with you commemorating the sacrifice of those men and women who laid down their lives for service to this nation. On every last Monday in May, we find ourselves reflecting on these men and women who bravely risked their lives and limb in the face of grave danger. Remember those who left the comforts of home to fight for us and our freedoms, but never returned to that one-day trade to the title of soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guardsman for veteran. We mourn our brothers and sisters in arms the day they left us. We mourn them today. The men and women who gave their lives in service to this nation are indisputable heroes. When their country called, they answered. Some volunteered, some were voluntold. But no matter how they found their way into the ranks of the military, each took it upon themselves to serve faithfully and to their fullest. This is commendable in a nation where so few among our citizens have donned a uniform and accepted the inherent task. This alone makes them heroes worthy of remembrance. For some of our veterans, who we are unable to pay our last respects in the final resting place, there are still more than 82,000 military personnel MIA from the conflicts since World War II. We will never forget them and will never stop looking to bring them back home. Those of us here today understood that to recognize their service and sacrifice, we must ensure that these individuals are never forgotten, their actions stay alive in our memories and in our hearts. Of the million-plus men and women who've died in American military service, the vast majority of are everyday heroes. They are brothers and sisters who fought alongside us, who left unfillable holes in the families, communities, and hearts across the country. Their friendship, their bravery, and their commitment to duty will never be lost. John F. Kennedy, a Navy veteran of World War II and a Purple Heart recipient, once said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." The 35th President of the United States charged us to take our appreciation one step further with action. This is no more relevant time to embrace this quote than on Memorial Day. I would ask you, when you leave here and go about the rest of your day, keep the fallen in your minds, their families in your hearts, and for it's their immense collective sacrifices that we helped keep our country free and safe. As long as we continue to honor them with our actions and our remembrance, their sacrifices will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we have speaking veteran of Foreign Wars Post 1888, Richard Williams, standing in for Commander James Deschneaux.
Thanks for everyone for attending today's memorial service. Harry Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, said, and I quote, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices." Throughout history, brave service members have loved our country so deeply that they were willing to risk their lives to defend the land we love and the freedoms that we believe everyone should have. Across all the country this weekend, people would be visiting cemeteries, monuments, to honor their relatives, friends, and unknown grave markers in remembrance. This Memorial Weekend, let's remember all that have passed, all in uniform, all presently deployed across the globe, and the sick and the wounded and veterans of public care facilities. I want to personally thank and shout out to all the veterans here today and the families and friends that support them. To all my Vietnam brothers and sisters, welcome home.
Thank you, Richard. Our next speaker is John Craven, who is the founder of the Veterans Memorial you see here in front of us.
Thank you. 11 years ago, at our dedication ceremony, we unveiled these monuments, which are engraved with our 61 Trenton veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice. There are 2 men from the Spanish-American War, 9 from World War I, 36 from World War II, 1 from the Korean War, and 13 from the Vietnam War. God blessed us with a remarkable War Memorial Committee. Several members of our original committee have passed. In alphabetical order, Scott Barr, Ted Hageman, George Myers, our former mayor, Kyle Stack, and Robert Wilson. They were instrumental in bringing this project to fruition, and we miss them greatly. They helped us establish the tradition of placing the flags around the site, representing each of our honored veterans. There are 58 USA flags, and you'll notice there are 3 British flags. We've had many questions about these British flags. 3 of our veterans wanted to enter the war before the USA was involved, so they enlisted in the Canadian military. The Canadian flags represent these 3 men. John O'Neill, who enlisted in the Canadian infantry, was assigned to the West Ontario Regiment during World War I. Harold F. Whalen, who enlisted in the Royal Air Force, was assigned to the 276th Squadron, Air Sea Rescue, during World War II. And James Louis Gachard, who enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force, was assigned to the 207th Squadron during World War II. It is important to note this year marks the 80th anniversary of the loss of James Gachard's flight and his entire crew. This is an amazing story that it continues to unfold. On November 25, 1942, the Avro Lancaster bomber, EMC for Charlie, with a crew of 8, was one of 5 aircraft that left Langar Airfield in England for a bombing mission at Haslund, Germany. 3 aircraft aborted and returned to the airfield. 1 crashed and was identified as such, while the official record still lists the EMC for Charlie aircraft and crew as failure to return. So James Louis Gachard was the flight sergeant and navigator for that flight, and Alfred Joseph Parkin of Palisades Park, New Jersey, was the pilot and captain. 3 years ago, Christopher and Michael Parkin, both pilots themselves and cousins to the pilot Alfred Joseph Parkin, contacted us via our website. They mentioned their 15-year-long investigation attempting to uncover what happened to the EMC for Charlie aircraft and crew. They also enlisted our help in locating the next of kin of James Gachard and learning more about him. Last week, the 3 members from our original committee participated in a 2-hour Zoom meeting with Christopher and Michael Parkin and Michelle Gachard Spiz, who is the great niece of James Gachard. The graphics and documentation we reviewed were extensive, inspirational, and informational on many levels. After reviewing the archived military reports at the Imperial War Museum and pouring through German handwritten documents, Michael Parkin states that the documents reviewed indicate that the EMC for Charlie aircraft was shot down by a German Luftwaffe pilot by the name of Ernst Heesen in the North Sea, just off the Dutch coast in 90 feet of water. Ironically, it was discovered that Ernst Heesen was killed 6 months later, shot down not far from where he downed the EMC for Charlie. These brothers are working with Project Recover out of Scripps Institute in San Diego, hopefully to use resources they have available to locate the Lancaster bomber. Christopher and Michael are also working toward closure for the families of the entire crew. They want to have the crash site officially identified, the site marked as a war grave, and to correct the military record from failure to return. And they want to pass this story on. So on November 25th of this year, family members will be attending a memorial service at the RCAF Bomber Command Center in England as a remembrance of this crew. Please help me recognize Michelle Gashar-Spiz and Christopher Parkin and his wife Jennifer. They're standing right over here by this British flag, which is James Gashar's. Thank you. May God bless each and every one of you and have a wonderful and safe Memorial Weekend. Thank you.
The next part of our ceremony includes the wreath presentations. The next group will be the VFW Post 1888 Auxiliary. We're together, thank you. Next is the Vietnam Veterans of America, 259 Downriver. The Disabled American Veterans, Untitled Chapter 102. EMC for Charlie Crew.
I'm gonna get a wreath up there. Just take a wreath, any wreath.
Auxiliary. Apologize. American Legion, Post 426.
Knights of Columbus.
American Legion Auxiliary 426. Sons of American Legion, Post 426. American Legion Riders, Post 426.
There's so many people don't have a pulse like we do, so they come in here. That part gives us more
The Taylor Shrine Club, attended.
that's some weird times. They just said come here.
The group Rosie the Murders. And lastly, a read from the Civic Mission Trend.
City of Brooklyn, you said?
And that our Lord have the benediction next. Ron Benea of VFW Post 1888, if you'd like to return to the podium.
Uncover. May the remembrance of the price that we paid for our life as a nation compel us to seek justice, to foster freedom, and to pursue the ways of peace. May our nation be a source of blessing to all its people and to the rest of mankind. Amen.
Amen. Cover.
Next, I believe we are having the United States of America flag raise to full staff. Taps. The rifle salute will be performed by American Women Veterans Honor Guard Rifle Team, American Legion Wyandotte Post 217.
Prepare, fire. Ready. Fire. Ready. Fire. Ready. Fire. For arm. Freeze and arm.